I often felt that the school administration didn't care at all about what went on in the black school. They were mandated to provide school, and they did provide school. They were mandated to see that there were teachers and a principal and a full staff, and they did so. But I don't think that there was any concern about the quality of education or what actually went on in the school. The black principal, in many cases, was tool of the white power structure. He was answerable only to them. And the abuses that black principals perpetrated against the students and against the teachers, you could write volumes about it. I could, keep you busy all afternoon talking simply about the abuses that I have seen and know from firsthand experience and observation that it was a terrible situation. But they put these people in these positions to keep the lid on things. They didn't give a damn what went on in the school, so long as you don't make problems, don't make waves. And the principal took full advantage of that, many of them. Although there were many, I must say, who were truly dedicated to providing the very best education available within the narrow, limits of their ability to do so. When I first heard about integration and heard that it may possibly one day be the way things would go, I had very mixed feelings about it. I was no more anxious to mingle with white people than I'm sure many of them were anxious to mingle with me. I felt the same reservations, the same prejudices, I guess I may as well say, that any of them felt, So I was not at all thrilled over the prospect. But as time went on, I began to realize that possibly this was, after all, the only way that the terrible injustices could be somewhat alleviated. And so more and more I began to favor the idea of integration. But I think many black people felt just as I did. They really didn't want any parts of white people. They would have preferred if it were. I've often thought, if separate but equal had been a reality, you'd never had an integration struggle. Black people would have been very, very satisfied to maintain, but just make sure it's equal. And that's where the problem lay. Our Moton High School, a joke, man, with a couple of tar paper shacks, which were unsightly, and compared to the Farmville High School, this is the idea of separate but equal. Books so torn apart. In one case, a friend of mine who was supposed to teach chemistry, man, the only books he could get, he had shreds and particles and pieces of books, and by linking up in his classroom, he'd pass out what he had. By linking up together, the kids were then able to get together enough material to. These books had been discarded by the white high school some years before and passed on to the black school. Now this points out the weakness and the corruption of the principal, who was black. This teacher, friend of mine, not knowing the chain of commands, his brand new teacher, went to the superintendent and said, look what I've got to work. I can't work with it. How can I teach chemistry with this junk? And immediately got a brand new set of books for his classroom. Now, the point of this is this. That principal could also have done that, but it was better for the principal to report a surplus at the end of this. That happened. Well, I don't want to get too personal, but I could cite you another instance in Farmville of the same kind of thinking. It's better to report a surplus at the end of the year, thus protecting myself, making myself the fair-haired boy downtown, than to go down and ask for materials that are absolutely, desperately needed by the children. Just to pass and look at the physical plants would have told you what a fallacy, what a joke, what a hoax separate but equal was. There's no way in the world that any reasonable person could compare Moton High School, as I said, a small brick building, maybe 4, maybe 5 classrooms, supplemented by 2 tar paper shacks, which were ugly and unsightly. There's no way in the world you could have compared that with Farmville High School. That look at Moton, the outlying buildings were heated by wood stoves. Now, one of the teachers, in addition to teaching classes, in addition to driving the school bus, had the additional responsibility of keeping the fires going in these buildings. At the White High School, they had a janitor. The disparity was, just ridiculous. It was absolutely no separate but equal. It was separate, all right, and very unequal. I foresaw, I thought I saw that it might come to bloodshed, and I wondered if it were worth it for any single person to die for something like that. As I said, my thing had always been separate but equal, but truly equal in a meaningful sense.